I realized I had been reborn. Right now, I was standing in a kitchen filled with smoke and sizzling oil, stir-frying dinner like I had countless times before. The bitter scent of garlic scorched in hot oil mixed with the faint trace of betrayal. In the air, Alex Young's arm wrapped around me from behind. His breath brushed against the back of my neck, deliberate, slow, and sickly sweet. His voice poured into my ear like venom wrapped in honey. "Can you give up that job spot and let her take it instead?" The pan hissed violently. My hand froze over the stove. The university allowed only one spousal employment quota per faculty member. That spot had been offered to me as Alex's legal wife. But now, here he was, trying to pry it out of my hands with the same quiet ruthlessness I had once mistaken for charm. "I owe Natalie's family a lot," he continued, like it was a debt I was meant to pay. "She helped me. Her father pulled strings. I want to give her the position. We'll just file a fake divorce first. And when she gets the permanent contract in 3 years, we'll remarry. It won't change anything between us." As soon as those words left his mouth, the pan crackled loudly sizzle. Boiling oil exploded from the wok, splashing across the back of my hand. I gasped, sharp and low, as the burn bit deep into my skin. Alex didn't even blink. He stood behind me, like a block of wood, motionless, cold, and detached. His focus wasn't on the pain radiating through my hand. It was on whatever he wanted to say next. The next strike to my heart. "With your level of education," he said smoothly, "at best, you'd be a dorm manager. But Nate Grant can be a lecturer. She understands the rules. She's even willing to pay you a compensation fee." My stomach twisted. In my past life, I had fought this moment like a drowning woman clutching the last driftwood. Now, reborn and fully awake, I knew exactly where this ended. He continued, "So let's go through with the divorce first. I promise after she becomes permanent in 3 years, we'll get remarried." I clutched my abdomen. The pain that once came from cancer in my last life still haunted me. It wasn't just in my memory, it was stitched into my soul. That pain had devoured me slowly. But what hurt more was him in that life. When I got my diagnosis and fell into despair, I had wanted to lean on Alex. Just a few words of comfort, 1 ounce of human warmth. But I hadn't even managed to open my mouth before he'd cut me off. "Sophie, I'm already a university professor. Look at you," he had sneered. "You've only got an adult education diploma. Is it really fair to ask me to stay with someone like you?" 8 years. 8 years I worked until my hands bled and my eyes burned just to pay his tuition, his living expenses, and his mother's hospital bills. And all he gave me in return was a divorce certificate and humiliation. Back then, he'd thrown in a bitter little bonus. "You're getting the apartment. That should be enough." Then he had Natalie Grant stand next to him at the university, holding his arm like she was his prize. I was kicked out of campus by security under his orders and told never to return. In the end, I died alone in a cheap rental unit in the slums. What a fool I had been, thinking that holding on to a man meant holding on to happiness. But how could happiness ever be tied to a man as cold and selfish as Alex Young? Click. I turned off the stove. The pan smoked behind me, but I didn't care. I rushed to the sink, twisted the faucet open, and shoved my hand under the cold stream. The water rushed over the burn, but it couldn't cool the wildfire rising in my chest. I wasn't just putting out the pain, I was washing away my past. I turned around. My eyes met his. "All right," I said with a calmness that startled even me. "Let's get divorced." Alex froze. In my past life, this was the moment I had broken down. I had cried and begged and reminded him of the 8 years I had spent building his future. This time, there were no tears. I didn't owe him an explanation. I watched his face twist, searching my expression for panic or weakness. But there was nothing but cold silence. I pulled a napkin from the table and dabbed at my dripping hand. The pain barely registered now. "Why not?" I said, tilting my head. "Being a dorm supervisor sounds boring anyway." "I love money, Alex." The words hit him like a slap. He flinched. Natalie's name hadn't even left my lips, but he knew what I meant. He tried to defend himself. "Natalie is the daughter of a professor. I owe her and her father. They helped me land this opportunity." I cut him off, stepping closer until I could see the unease in his eyes. "Just last month, I worked 2 straight weeks of overtime to pay your mom's medical bills," I said flatly. "If you cared about loyalty, you would have been standing next to me in that hospital, not hiding behind someone else's last name." He opened his mouth to argue, but I didn't let him. I put you through school, Alex. You promised you'd take care of me for the rest of my life. But now, 2 months after you graduate, you're still squeezing the life out of me. I grabbed a pen from the drawer and looked him dead in the eye. This job offer is your repayment, but this opportunity is worth at least 300,000 yuans. Not a single cent less. Pay me and I'll sign. Don't pay? Then we drag it out. Let's see who blinks first. His face turned a shade darker. He stood rooted to the floor, completely thrown off. I walked past him and scooped the now limp vegetables into a bowl, then sat down and poured myself another serving of soup. The fish aroma filled the kitchen again. I took a slow, deliberate sip. Still tastes sweet. Alex didn't say a word. He just stood there, lips slightly parted, like he couldn't recognize the woman in front of him. In my past life, I had collapsed in this exact moment, crying, begging, listing every sacrifice I made. 8 years of unpaid debt, 8 years of love turned into ash. But now, I simply sat down at the dining table and enjoyed my own cooking. My silence spoke louder than any outburst could. Finally, his dry, scratchy voice broke the tension. You really mean it? His eyes darted to my burned hand, red and swollen. But still, he didn't ask if I was okay. He was searching my expression, like a criminal revisiting the scene of a crime, hoping it hadn't been noticed. I reached for a napkin and dabbed at the burn with deliberate grace. Of course I mean it, I said, lifting my gaze slowly. Don't you have the money? His jaw clenched. The man who once looked down on me now couldn't meet my eyes. Natalie's already prepared the cash, he said, hesitating. She's booking the room tonight at the Reborn hotel to celebrate. Celebrate? She hadn't even gotten the job yet. They were celebrating in advance, confident I would break, just like before. I smiled faintly. Good. Remind her to bring the full amount. I'll have the papers ready. Alex's face twitched. We're still a family, Sophie. We'll live together. It's just temporary. I even told Natalie she could stay with us for a while until things settle down. A beat of silence passed. Then another. My spoon clinked softly against the bowl. I stirred the soup once, then looked up. You actually want me to live here, I said slowly, while you and your new wife sleep in the next room? His expression faltered, but he forced a gentle smile like it was a perfectly reasonable suggestion. You cook well. Natalie loves your food. It'll be easier for everyone. My lips curled into a cold smile. You want me to feed you and Natalie while you settle into your new marriage? Sophie, he began, but I tapped the table twice, cutting him off. I'll draw up the divorce agreement tonight. Have Natalie bring the cash when you return. If the payment is late, the deal is off. He hesitated. I raised my eyebrows. Still, want that job offer? He finally gave a stiff nod, turned to the shoe cabinet, and snatched his keys. When he slammed the door behind him, the walls shuddered, but I didn't even blink. I sat back, sipping soup in silence. Outside, the wind howled through the alley, but inside, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. The clock struck 2 o'clock. When Alex stumbled back in, stinking of alcohol and guilt. I was sitting on the couch in the dark, a quiet shadow against the city lights flickering through the windows. He paused in the doorway, scanning the room. When he saw me, his shoulders relaxed just slightly. His smile was faint but familiar. That smug smirk I had once interpreted as affection. Sophie, he slurred. Still awake? You didn't have to wait up. He staggered toward the kitchen, like he always did, expecting to find the soup I had made in our old life, the one I would warm for him no matter how late he came home. But tonight, the stove was cold, the kitchen empty. His footsteps halted. I didn't move. No guilt, no apology, no caretaking, just silence. He turned, confused. Sophie, I've been drinking. You didn't even make soup? I didn't even look at him, just reached down and slid a thick envelope across the coffee table. He blinked down at it. The divorce agreement, I said. For a moment, the mask cracked. His voice turned sharp. What is this supposed to mean? I thought we agreed it's fake. This looks real. I leaned forward, the glow from the lamp casting a hard shadow across my face. A fake divorce certificate is still a real divorce certificate, Alex. He stared at me, confused. But we're still living together, not for long. But Natalie said exactly. I snapped, and the silence swallowed his excuses. Natalie Grant, the woman you're leaving your wife for. Let's make things clear now. Divide the assets, finalize the terms. Or what? You want Miss Grant to inherit my share when you to split in the future? He swallowed hard. Sophie, that's such an ugly thing to say. Ugly? I let out a soft, bitter laugh. You want to use me for 8 years, throw me aside like trash, then have me wash dishes for your new wife and I'm the ugly one? He tried to regain control. Fine, if that's what it takes. He grabbed the pen with shaking hands. Without even reading the contract, he scribbled his name across the signature line. He slammed the pen down and stood, face tense, avoiding my eyes. I'll sleep in the study. In the past, that line had broken me. I would spend the night crying, blaming myself, trying to fix us. Not tonight. I gave a faint hum and didn't look up. No begging, no bargaining. No reaction. The study door slammed shut behind him. The glass on the coffee table rattled slightly from the impact. I stood, walked to my bedroom, and carefully pulled open the drawer of my nightstand. Inside was a crisp acceptance letter, Graduate School of English Translation, Shenzhen University. In my past life, I had clung to that letter like a lifeline. Trembling with pride, I'd shown it to Alex like it was gold. He had laughed in my face. From a no-name university? That's your big dream? Stop playing around, Sophie. Be realistic. Just be a good wife. Then he had tossed the letter into the trash. That night, I had fished it out and cried silently into the bathroom sink. This time, I hadn't shown it to him. This time, I didn't need his approval. I gently traced the embossed seal on the paper. With my fingertips, he wanted me to stand behind him while he charged forward. But I wasn't following anymore. I was already walking my own road. And this time, I wouldn't be looking back. The day of the divorce, I arrived at the civil affairs office just after opening. The sky was cloudless. I took that as a sign. Alex showed up late, walking in with Natalie Grant at his side. Her heels clicked across the floor like she was walking a runway. Head high, expression smug, arm looped through Alex's. She wore head-to-toe designer. Her bag alone cost more than what I used to make in a month. When she saw my simple blouse and scuffed flats, her lips curled. Sophie, she said sweetly, holding out a white paper bag. Here's the compensation we promised. 300,000 yuan, in cash. The bag was heavier than it looked. I accepted it without a word. She let out a small laugh. If it weren't for Alex, you wouldn't have seen that kind of money in your life. I met her eyes calmly. She thought she was winning. She didn't know this wasn't even the real game. My fingers dug into my palm. I stepped forward, close enough for her to smell the heat of my breath. Want to see what happens? I whispered, if I shout right now, and let everyone see how the daughter of Vice Dean Grant bought another woman's husband with cash. Her expression froze. She hadn't expected that. Alex grabbed my arm. Sophie, shut up. I smiled coolly. Let's get this over with. We stepped up to the counter. Signed, thumbprints, divorce finalized. While the clerk handed me the divorce certificate, Alex kept watching me, waiting, hoping to see even a flicker of pain. There was none. Relief washed over me as I held the red certificate in my hands. Done. Finally, completely done. Natalie tugged on his sleeve, dragging him toward the adjacent marriage registration desk. She didn't even wait a full 24 hours. Red flags? More like red banners waving in his face. She clutched her brand new marriage certificate like a trophy and leaned her head against Alex's shoulder. I could already picture the announcement she'd post online later. New job, new husband, new life. I pulled out my phone and snapped a photo. Not of them, of the moment. Just something worth saving. Proof that this chapter had closed. Alex turned back, eyes scanning me like he still couldn't believe it. A flicker of guilt danced behind his gaze, but behind that, comfort. He really thought I'd come crawling back one day. I smirked. The money's settled. That's all I needed. Then I turned and walked out, divorce certificate in one hand, 300,000 yuans in the other. My steps felt lighter than air. That night, I curled up on the couch, flipping through channels, humming along to a cheesy variety show. When Alex returned, I didn't even glance up. I'm sleeping in the study, he muttered, as if trying to test me one more time. No protest, no reaction, nothing he could use against me. He slammed the door behind him. The next morning, my suitcase was wide open in the living room, neatly packed. Final. Alex saw it and frowned. What now? I'm leaving, I said simply. His eyes narrowed. What do you mean you're leaving? Natalie and I are reporting to Yendel next week. I didn't answer. His tone turned mocking. Don't tell me you think you're coming with us. We're the married couple now, Sophie. You'll embarrass us. I zipped the suitcase. Who said I'm going to Yendel? He scoffed. Then where? Just clearing my head. I walked toward the door, dragging the suitcase with one hand. He blocked the hallway. You're blowing the money already, aren't you? Running off to some resort to sulk? I brushed past him. Not your concern. His hand clutched the suitcase handle. What resort? When are you coming back? I tugged the bag gently from his grip. Haven't decided. Sophie, he said, scanning my face with narrowed eyes. Don't act out. You'll come back when this blows over. I didn't reply. He let go, convinced he still had a hold on me somehow. Just don't waste the money on stupid things. You'll need it eventually. I walked out, the suitcase wheels thudding softly across the floor over the broken remains of the life we built. Inside the suitcase were 300,000 yuan in cash, a bank card holding the 200,000 yuan's housing allowance Alex had just transferred to me last weekend, my acceptance letter to Shenzhen University, 500,000 yuan. A fresh start. 8 years of my youth traded for 500,000 yuan and my freedom. I'd say I got the better deal. At the airport, I tossed out my SIM card. Goodbye, Alex Young. 6 years later, the city I once escaped from felt like an echo of a life I barely recognized. I had returned as an invited expert to evaluate a poverty alleviation project in Yan City. In one of the workshops producing traditional crafts, I ran into a familiar face. Wait, Sophie Shen? Ryan Gao, an old high school classmate, looked like he had just spotted a celebrity. I can't believe it. Look at you, so polished now. Honestly, you were always smart to cling to Alex back then. I heard he's a tenured professor now at Yendel University. I smiled faintly. Alex Young and I divorced years ago. Ryan froze. No way. At the last reunion, he never mentioned anything. In fact, he made it sound like you two were still. Well, I shrugged. Some people only remember what serves their ego. Ryan chuckled awkwardly. Still, landing a man like him. Well, not everyone gets lucky twice. My expression didn't change. A woman doesn't need luck. We make our own paths. He blinked, clearly unsure how to respond. I didn't give him a chance to recover. I turned and headed for the next workshop. The factory tour finished close to noon. The government team hosting us invited us to a hot spring resort nearby for lunch. I had a video meeting that ran long, so I arrived at the dining hall after everyone else. I was still looking for the room number when I heard a familiar voice behind me. Waiter, could you bring us some Longjing tea for this table? The voice was soft, clear, and condescending. I turned. Natalie Grant. She was seated elegantly at a table in the center of the room, surrounded by well-dressed academics and officials. Beside her sat Alex Young. She thought I was a waitress, and Alex didn't correct her. Natalie hadn't changed much. Still polished, still smug, still mistaking cruelty for confidence. Her voice carried across the room as she waved at a waiter. Only, it wasn't a waiter. It was me, dressed in local cultural attire to match the theme of the day's visit. I must have looked ordinary enough for her to mistake me for staff. Before I could speak, she laughed lightly. Some people take the money and run and still end up as waitresses. Her eyes ran over me with practiced disdain. I opened my mouth to correct her, but my gaze landed on Alex. He was seated beside her, a distant, unreadable look in his eyes. Surprise flickered there for just a second before pity took over, followed by something far worse, condescension. Sophie, you're here, he said, like he was doing me a favor. Why don't you sit down and have lunch with us? Natalie pouted and nudged him with her elbow. Alex, she's a waitress now. What if she gets fined? Isn't it inappropriate to invite her? She turned to the rest of the table with a sugary smile. Let me introduce everyone. This is Alex's ex. The word hung in the air like rot. This Miss Sophie here doesn't have much education or work experience. Took Alex's money and disappeared. Judging by her outfit, I'd say she's already burned through it. A man in gold-rimmed glasses leaned forward, giving me a greasy once-over. Being a waitress is honest work, he said with a smirk. But could this pretty one pour me some hot water? Laughter followed, light, polite, venomous. I didn't move. I didn't blink. The man slammed his hand on the table and barked. Where's the manager? Fire this girl now. Alex reached out, touching my wrist like he thought I needed his rescue. Don't make a scene, Sophie. Just apologize. I'll smooth it over. I yanked my arm away and said sharply, I'm not Natalie, cut in before I could finish. What? Going to say you're a guest? Her tone turned mock sweet. Being a server isn't shameful. You don't have to pretend. The man with the glasses added, all labor deserves respect. But come on, just admit it. Every pair of eyes turned toward me, thirsty for shame. Then a voice broke the silence behind me. Director Shen, I should have come out to greet you. It was Xiao Wang, walking briskly toward me, bowing slightly in front of the stun table. Your room is in the Xingyan Pavilion. Let me show you the way. I followed him without a word. Behind me, someone gasped. Wait, Xiao Wang? Secretary Wang? I heard the voice. It was Yuan Mei from the School of Media and Communication at Yundel. She scrambled to make the connection. I met you last semester when I was on the reception team. Xiao turned puzzled. Yes. Sorry, I didn't recognize you. I'm here assisting Director Shen from Gentris Tech. The name hit the table like a bomb. I kept walking. I don't know them, I said coolly. That night, as I stepped outside the resort after dinner, Alex came out from behind a column, waiting like a ghost. Let me take you back, he said, reaching for my bag the way he used to. I shifted away. 6 years, and you're still this stubborn, he said with a broken laugh. You disappeared without a word. You won't even let me explain. I almost laughed. Alex Young, you signed the divorce papers with your own hand. You registered your marriage with Natalie Grant the same day. Now you're standing here acting sentimental? He looked torn, as if the years had finally caught up with him. It was just a temporary arrangement, he muttered. Natalie, and her promotion is coming. The dean said marital status matters for title evaluations. Please, just give me more time. I gave a hollow chuckle. Alex, you don't have to explain anything. We've been divorced for 6 years. He stared at me, grasping for anything. We agreed we'd get remarried after 3 years. You never came back. I lifted my chin. I didn't come back because I moved on. I'm already married. His pupils contracted. You're lying. I smiled. Believe what you want. Behind him, Natalie's voice called out. Alex, we need to finish those documents. She saw me and stopped. Her eyes flickered with panic as she linked arms with him. Let's go. He didn't move. Sophie, you still have feelings for me, don't you? I didn't answer. Just turned and walked toward the parking lot. She's just trying to provoke you, Natalie hissed behind me. Don't fall for it. Alex didn't follow, but I knew his heart was still stuck 6 years in the past. Back at the hotel, I video called Lucian. His warm, steady voice came through instantly. Was the visit productive? I nodded. Ran into some old ghosts. Nothing serious. He raised a brow. Want me to fly over? No need. I smiled. How's Nick? Lucian turned the camera. My little boy lay asleep under the covers, hugging the plush bunny I bought him. I felt the tension in my chest melt. He was asking for mommy earlier, Lucian said softly. He misses you. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Tell him. Mommy misses him too. I'll be home soon. He smiled. We'll be waiting. I ended the call and looked out the window. For the first time in years, I felt exactly what home was. It wasn't a place. It wasn't a man. It was peace and someone gently waiting, arms open, whispering, come back when you're ready. The next morning, I was deep into compiling my field visit report when the hotel phone rang. Miss Shen, the receptionist said politely, there's a Mr. Young in the lobby. He says you invited him to breakfast. I stared at the receiver for a moment before answering. I only cook one meal. He can wait. 10 minutes later, I stepped into the hotel lobby. Alex was seated at a booth, a fresh cup of coffee in front of him, playing the calm elite like he always had. His smile wavered slightly when he saw me. Sophie, he stood, brushing imaginary lint from his sleeves. About yesterday, Natalie was out of line. My friends were rude. I apologize. On their behalf. Can we talk properly this time? I didn't sit. Talk about what? He looked around and leaned in, lowering his voice. I didn't realize you've done so well at Gentris these past few years. Your direct-to-consumer strategy. It's impressive. Honestly, you've really grown into someone who matches me. I blinked once, slowly. Then I let out a dry laugh. You think we're equals now? He held my gaze. We always were. I just didn't see it then. But now I cut him off. I told you yesterday. I'm married. His smile didn't falter. Don't lie to me, Sophie. You came back because of me. It's okay to admit that. I leaned in, my voice low and sharp. Alex Young, You still think the world revolves around you? Let me ask you something, does Natalie know you're here? His eyes flinched, just barely. I straightened. So now that I'm successful, you want to toss her aside and come crawling back? His face reddened. It's not like that. But my phone buzzed before he could finish. The name on the screen stopped my breath cold. Xiao Wang. I answered immediately. His voice was tight with tension. Director Shen, have you offended anyone recently? What do you mean? I asked. There's a smear article circulating. It's gone viral. They're accusing you of sleeping your way to the top, saying your education is fake, that your company is a front, and that you only got government support through personal favors. My blood turned to ice. That's ridiculous, I said, voice hoarse. It's all fabricated. I know that, he said firmly. But we've been instructed to delay the contract signing until this is cleared up. I'm sorry. My throat tightened. I hung up and opened my browser. I didn't have to type more than my name. The search suggestions said it all. Sophie Shen scandal. Gentra CEO sleeps for contracts. Adult diploma fraud. Foreign men. Blackmail and bribes. My chest constricted as I clicked through the links. Headlines screamed filth. They mocked my education, called me a transactional mistress, claimed my degrees were fake, invented sponsors I'd never met. They even fabricated hotel sightings, saying I was seen exiting elevators with foreign businessmen. I scrolled through the comments. They were worse than the article. Isn't this the chick from room 9 a few years back? One wrote, my friend saw her with a black guy in a hotel elevator once. Another said, she's got exotic tastes. Someone else added, women like this are dangerous, get ahead with their bodies and then cry feminism. My hands trembled. It wasn't just slander. It was surgical, personal, vicious. Every word was designed to erase everything I had built and reduce me to someone disposable. My phone buzzed again. Lucian, don't read it, he said the second I picked up. I already have, I whispered. I'm flying in, he said. Our PR team is already working on it. And we've scheduled a live stream tonight, an interview with you. You're not going to hide. You're going to face it, on your terms. I closed my eyes. I could hear the pain in his voice, the quiet rage, the unshakable support. You built Gentris with your hands, your brain, and your blood. No one gets to take that away from you. A sob tried to rise in my throat, but I forced it down. All right, I said quietly. Let's fight. Lucian arrived like a storm, precise, silent, and unstoppable. His team moved quickly, setting up the cameras, testing microphones, reviewing statements. I sat quietly as they prepped around me, still numb from the day's assault, but every beat of my heart pounded with the same thought. I will not let them rewrite my story. The lights switched on. I took my seat across from the host, the camera lens trained on my face like a loaded gun. The chat had already exploded before I opened my mouth. Let's see what the Celti says, someone wrote. Adult education? Lol. Guarantee she slept her way into that company. She probably bought that CEO title like her fake diploma. I didn't look away. I reached into the folder on the table and slowly pulled out my first certificate. A simple paper, my bachelor's degree in adult higher education. I opened it with calm fingers and laid it flat for the camera to zoom in. The host glanced at it, then at me. Miss Shen, she said carefully, many have mocked your educational background. Do you have anything to say about that? I met the lens directly. Yes, this was my starting point, an adult education diploma. Not glamorous, not elite, but to get this trash degree, I paused, letting the word sink in. I twisted bolts on a factory line during the day until my fingers locked, and at night, I studied in a windowless room with borrowed books and flickering lights. While others dated and went on vacations, I memorized textbooks and formulas. This diploma cost me every weekend, every festival, every hour of rest. The comments began shifting. One by one, lines of doubt gave way to a trickle of respect. Wait, she worked and studied? That's real grit though. Adult education isn't easy if you're working full-time. I reached for the second diploma. The camera zoomed again. A rich blue cover, Shenzhen University, Masters in English Translation. My name etched in bold. This one, I said, my voice steady. I earned while working full-time and building a company from the ground up. During the day, I was in classrooms, boardrooms, and factories. At night, I sat in server rooms coding with my team. We launched a retail platform that crashed during our first major release. We stayed awake for 72 hours straight to fix it. We didn't have a budget or contacts or special favors. We had drive, we had hunger, and we had each other. The comment feed shifted again. She has a Shenzhen U grad degree? That's legit. Wait, Gentris is B2C. How would sleeping around help her cell phone cases? She built something. That's more than most of us ever did. I saw the host glance at her assistant. Their screens were blowing up with support. The host leaned forward. So, the rumors that you exchanged sexual favors for international contracts. I laughed. It wasn't forced. It wasn't bitter. It was sharp and clear and painfully real. International contracts? Gentris is a business-to-consumer platform. My biggest orders come from college students buying backpacks and young moms ordering baby socks. So unless you're telling me I traded sex for a 999 yuan phone case, then maybe ask the people spreading these lies if they've ever even opened our homepage. Laughter flooded the chat. But it wasn't cruel. It was with me. Exactly. B2C. These idiots don't even understand her business model. I've ordered from Gentris. They ship to my city faster than any other site. This woman built her empire one product at a time. The host glanced up. Miss Shen. Many female entrepreneurs face gendered attacks. What would you say to those hiding behind keyboards? I didn't pause. What I feel isn't anger, it's sorrow. Sorrow for the cowards too afraid to face women who no longer need them. The moment we succeed, they rush to strip it away. The degrees we sweat for, the businesses we pour our souls into, they erase it with one disgusting phrase. She must have slept her way there. What exactly are they so afraid of? That we no longer depend on them? That our worth isn't tied to their validation? The comments exploded. This is the speech of the year. I've been accused of the same thing every time I got promoted. I'm crying. You don't need to scream to destroy them. She did it with truth. I sat straighter. I wasn't finished. This attack wasn't sloppy. It was personal, targeted. It came from someone who knew me, knew where to aim. But they forgot something important. When you throw dirt on someone who's already climbed out of the grave once, they won't just survive. They'll bury you with facts. The live stream ended. The lights faded. I sagged slightly in my chair as the exhaustion finally caught up to me. Lucian stepped forward without a word and wrapped an arm around me. You didn't just survive that, he said, softly. You made them feel ashamed for ever believing it. My phone buzzed. It was Xiao Wang. His voice came through low and grim. We've traced the IP that started the smear post. It's from Yundel University. Faculty dorms. My heart turned cold. And the account? Registered under Natalie Grant. But the most frequent IP login is Alex Young. A pause. Our officers are heading there now. Another call buzzed in. Unknown number. I picked it up. On the other end was chaos sirens. Shouting, background noise. Sophie, please, it's Alex. They're here. Police. Natalie's crying. Listen. I didn't mean to. Please don't press charges. Alex's voice was frantic, tripping over itself with fear and desperation. Please, Sophie. It was Natalie, okay? She posted it. I didn't even know until it was already online. She was upset I said I wanted a divorce. She snapped. I was just angry that you ignored me. I left a few anonymous comments. Just a few. I swear I didn't think it would get this far. I stood by the hotel window, listening to him unravel in real time. Sirens wailed in the background. Officers barked orders. Natalie's high-pitched sobs rang out faintly. I said nothing. Sophie, listen to me, he begged. You always forgave me before. Just do it one last time. Don't let them press charges. Please, you don't know what jail is like. This will ruin me, my career, my life. I finally spoke. My voice was quiet, flat, and colder than anything he'd ever heard from me. You were fine ruining mine. There was silence. Then I ended the call without another word. The room fell still. The silence wasn't empty, it was clean, free, final. The next morning, I signed the contracts with the local manufacturers in Yen City as scheduled. The project was back on track. Lucian stood beside me as flashbulbs popped and local reporters jotted down notes. No one mentioned the scandal. No one dared. The smear campaign had collapsed within hours of the live stream. Our company's legal team had filed for defamation. Natalie Grant and Alex Young were both named. Days later, the People's Court of Uni District issued its ruling. Natalie Grant received 2 years, immediate execution of sentence. Alex was sentenced to 1 year and 3 months. Their names were stripped from Yundel University's faculty registry. Dismissed, disgraced, gone. I read the verdict on my phone in silence. Then I glanced toward the family photo on my desk, me, Lucian, and Nick. All three of us wrapped in sunshine, forever smiling. I turned off the screen. I didn't need to reread the words. I had already won. I didn't need to gloat. Their punishment was never about revenge. It was about justice and making sure no other woman would be torn down the way they tried to tear me. Weeks passed. Life returned to its rhythm. And then one day, my old high school class president somehow got hold of my number. He called multiple times before I picked up. Sophie, our class is having a reunion dinner next Friday. You'll come, right? Everyone's excited to see you again. You're a director now, we're all proud of you. I paused. Alex won't be there, will he? No, of course not, he said quickly. Wouldn't invite him. After everything he did? Trust me, no one respects him anymore. Against my better judgment, I said I'd drop by. I arrived, exactly on time, dressed simply but sharply. The moment I walked into the private room, I heard it. That relocation money, Alex was saying. I gave it to her. That was my parting gift. The room fell quiet as I stepped inside. Every pair of eyes turned to me, some wide with guilt, some with curiosity. I didn't hesitate. What's this I'm hearing? I said, walking to the center. That Alex gave me money out of generosity? Alex's smug mask shattered. Sophie, that's not. I cut him off. Let me make something clear. I pulled out my phone and tapped. Open the cloud-stored image of our divorce agreement. This is the document you signed. I turned the screen to show the table. Clause 7. Party A, Alex Young, agrees to leave the marriage with no claims to joint assets in exchange for the job transfer. That wasn't a gift. That was your price tag. A few gasps rippled through the group. I swiped to the next photo. The marriage certificate. Alex and Natalie, dated the exact same day as our divorce. I zoomed in on the date. They couldn't even wait 24 hours, I said. So for those wondering why Alex signed away everything, because to give his spousal quota to Natalie, he needed to divorce me. It wasn't about love. It was about power. The silence was deafening. Alex stood, face ghost white. We agreed it was fake, he stammered. You were supposed to come back. I thought you thought I'd crawl back. I turned to the class president. You invited me here under false pretenses. I came out of respect, but you let this man rewrite history in front of my face. I grabbed my purse and turned toward the door. Class reunion? This looks more like a circus. Voices rose behind me. Some turned against Alex. You lied to her and us. All this time you acted like a victim, shameless. You ruined your own life and tried to drag hers with it. Alex chased me to the elevator. I'll file for divorce right now. Natalie and I are done. You're the one I never stopped loving. I pressed the elevator button calmly and lifted my left hand. The diamond ring on my finger caught the light. I already told you, Alex. I'm married, and you're not even worth one strand of my husband's hair. The elevator doors opened. I stepped in, looked straight at him, and said quietly, goodbye. His expression collapsed. The doors closed. The site visit in Yinqing concluded smoothly. Despite the mess I had to deal with over the past few days, watching the local women present their handcrafted goods with pride made it worth it. The factory contracts were already being drafted. Gentris would provide logistics and storefront access. And the artisans? They would finally have a global audience. I was packing up some field notes when my phone buzzed. A message from Xiao Wang. Director Shen, the verdict has been posted. Case closed. You were right to pursue it. I looked at the message for a long moment, then slowly set the phone down. I didn't smile. I didn't cry. I just felt still, balanced, whole. I caught a flight home the next morning. As soon as I opened the front door, I heard the pounding of tiny feet. Mommy. Nick launched himself into my arms, soft and warm, his hair still smelling faintly of milk and sunshine. I hugged him tightly, pressing my nose into his hair. I missed you so much, he said in his small voice. I missed you too, baby. Behind us, Lucian appeared in the doorway, carrying Nick's shoes and a stuffed bunny under one arm. He gave me a tired but gentle smile. Welcome home. I leaned into his side as he wrapped an arm around me and Nick both. For a moment, I just let myself breathe him in the steady heartbeat, the quiet strength, no demands, no manipulation, just someone who stood beside me. How was the site visit? He asked softly as we walked into the living room. Good. I said. We'll be finalizing the first contract batch next week. I paused. Ran into some old ghosts, but they've been dealt with. He didn't ask for details. He never did. He just nodded and said, I'm proud of you. That night, after putting Nick to sleep, I stepped into my office to go through final approvals. The new project banner was ready, powered by women, rooted in resilience. It felt right. Gentris had grown faster than I ever imagined, but its core stayed the same. Every thread of it had been stitched by hard work, and yes, pain, but not regret. I looked up at the framed photograph on my desk. Me, Lucian, and Nick. I remembered how I once believed happiness came from clinging to a man, that as long as I gave enough, suffered enough, I would be loved in return. I was wrong. Happiness wasn't built on sacrifice without recognition. It wasn't in someone else's approval. It was in freedom, in standing up after being shoved into the dirt and saying, you don't get to bury me. I'm planting myself here instead. The phone buzzed again. An anonymous number. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. There was nothing left to say. I reached over and turned off the light. Outside the window, the city shimmered quietly. Nick slept peacefully in the next room. And beside me, Lucian was still awake, waiting, always waiting, ready to hold me without needing to possess me. This was what home was supposed to be. Not a battlefield, not a cage, just a place where I could take off all my armor, breathe deeply, and finally say, I am free, I am whole, I am loved, and this time, by myself first.